Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Nice to not really see or hear all of you. I don't know who this is reaching or if it's managing to get beyond the confines of this infinitely tall and ever-growing building. But it is I, Max, still looking for an exit to this place. This week, I am joined by Zach. Say hello, Zach.
Hello.
Coming to you live from... Is this a rooftop?
Roof. You did find an exit, but it's a long way down.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to. Maybe if I can fabricate a parachute or something like that. Maybe then I'll come back here. But this is to feel that sunlight is so great. I mean, so we've known each other for years. We both started. I think we were both sort of bringing mail to people around the office. When did you get moved to? What are you doing up here?
They said birds, and I looked all over the place, and that's the only place that had them.
They said
so,
birds?
Birds, yeah. So I've made it my mission. It's been a while now. I've made it my mission just to know anything and everything about birds and make sure these ones are well taken care of.
Okay, so you're in charge of the company's birds. No, that's normal. That's perfectly normal. I guess I should start off by reading the memo that was sent across the office from our boss, the CEO, and it reads thusly. Over the past month, I've been hearing a knocking or a scraping at my door. I get up from my desk and open the door, but no one is there. The ding-dong ditcher has also been leaving copious amounts of ectoplasm behind, and I'm sick and tired of cleaning it up. I am personally donating $100 to the brave employee who manages to catch the culprit in the act. Sincerely, the boss. So.
One of my birds has been missing, so that might be...
Do you have, like, names for the birds?
No, but you're welcome to help me try. Tried numbering them, but they kind of just come and go as they please. I found leashing them to the building doesn't help very much.
that visual.
Yes. So
yeah,
it's not great.
I'd imagine the birds would have a have a problem with that.
Yes.
So while we're talking about birds, I know there's a company regulated terminal in all the rooms I've been in so far, and I'm just looking over right now at the screen that you had pulled up before I managed to find my way out here. Is that a giant bird, like origami figurine?
Yeah. So like I said, don't really know what they meant by birds, and so I know that the ancient practice of origami loves birds. I think that's probably an overgeneralization. Not to offend any people group. I love origami.
All those people, all those paper people out there.
Yeah. What you see in front of you is the world's largest paper bird. I would assume just bird in general.
Holy moly! Like, I just realized the true scale of what I'm looking at.
Yes.
So
that is the Seattle Seahawks football stadium. You'll see that it goes just over side to side the width of the football stadium, and it's just about as tall as the football stadium.
Wow, that thing is truly massive.
And I do believe the original paper size was 328 feet by 328 feet.
What was why? Like, who did this and why?
I assume it's other people that were told birds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, there's something so ethereal and interesting about someone just leaning across from someone else at a desk and just saying, birds.
Birds, yes.
And then nothing else.
Yeah. So I found that fascinating. And if I had a 328 by 328 both roof and piece of paper, I'd probably try it. But I'm lacking both of those.
Interesting. So I just looked up because I was curious about this because I don't think I've ever actually cognizantly thought about origami and what it is. But based on what I'm seeing here on the terminal, according to, I think this is the Encyclopedia Britannica, is that it's basically disputed upon when exactly it became a thing, because we don't really have a lot of information about it prior to, I think, the 15th century is what it says here. But it says here, many studies assert that origami was invented by the Japanese about 1,000 years ago, but its roots may well be in China. It's also probable that the process of folding was applied to other materials before paper was invented. So it gets a little bit murkier because they could have been folding animals out of other things before paper. But it seems like it's definitely, and I mean, even the word itself, is there like, what does the word actually mean? Is that just the art of folding paper? Like, I wonder what the word actually means.
I don't know. I've only ever made birds. Luckily, they didn't lean across and say paper, because that would have been a whole other.
I'm seeing that you're taking some notes from Lawrence Fishburne from John Wick 3, I think it is, where he's like the bird guy.
Yes.
Can we talk about those movies real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Those movies have no business being as awesome as they are.
What do you think it is that makes them stand apart?
I think, well, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this too. I think just off rip, in the first movie specifically, they did a really good job setting up his character prior to the story, so you feel that sense of justification for any horrific thing he does for the rest of the movie. Like, they justify him properly. Instead of he's just, like, a crazy, insane protagonist who just murders relentlessly and without meaning. They actually did a good job setting up his character, I guess. And I think there's that. I think there was, the choreography was really good. We didn't have a bunch of shaky cam nonsense. They actually wanted the viewer to sort of soak in the fight sequences. It was something to be enjoyed, and so they put a lot of effort into the choreography. Instead of a fight being a mechanism to propel the story forward, the story was about the fight. You know what I mean? So, like, we're invested in this character. And people debate back and forth. Of course, there's a lot of unrealistic things about it, clearly. However, I do think that they balanced it enough with enough realistic elements. Like, I love the reloads, like the tactical reloads that he has to do. I mean, there's also just the pacing of them. I don't feel like there's a lot of lag time. I didn't find myself bored at any point in time while watching those movies. Am I necessarily wanting 7 more? No. I know that they're going to make a 4th, which is a little weird to not just stop at a trilogy. But I also really like the world building. You know what I mean? I like the world that they created.
I think nothing is worse in an action movie than when the camera's like a foot away from the people punching and you can't like see anything.
I don't know who's freaking responsible for that, but it is a trap. It's so obnoxious every time it happens. It's like, what's the point of watching the movie? Like, why am I looking at this guy's sleeve during the struggle? I want to see their faces. I want to see something. Like, I don't know.
I don't know if the terminal here allows for movie clips, but if you've seen recently the original Predator, the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
The very first scene where they go in and they think they're just facing the people in the jungle, not the Predator yet.
Right.
For almost 10 minutes straight, it's just up close of the army men shooting. You don't see what they're shooting. You don't see who's shooting at them. It's just up close of them just like firing their machine guns. And it's like, I'm sure there's some pretty cool action going on, but I
can't see it.
I can't see it. So
well, you know, and it's interesting because I feel like some things work well with that. I think specifically horror. I think a lot of times more is less. Where if you leave it more into the realm of the imagination, something gets scarier and scarier, where you're seeing maybe the things that it's leaving behind, but they're not showing you in high definition what the thing actually is. Because by shrouding it in mystery, I feel that it makes it a little bit more intense, a little bit more scary. But you and I would probably also differ on a lot of things involving horror, because you're more prone to watch horror movies than I. Because don't you like horror?
I enjoy a good psychological thriller.
Okay, psychological thrillers.
Yeah.
I feel like we could both sort of agree. Do you have like a favorite horror or suspense movie?
I definitely do. Let me see. Let me look up the terminal. So I want to make sure I say the right name. I like the Insidious movies and the Conjuring movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're fun. I wouldn't say they necessarily fall under psychological thriller, but they're fun.
I I've talked about my feelings about horror films, and it's no
Hmm.
fault of anyone else's. It's just what my tolerance level is. Like even
Hmm.
I don't know if I told you this. Uh, there was one time I was watching The Dark Knight with a bunch of people, and I had a plate full of food, like pizza, and a glass full of soda, and I was sitting there watching Dark Knight. And I'd seen the movie many times by this point I was watching it. But there's one
Hmm.
sequence when the
I
mayor
kind of where we're going. Yeah.
leans
Hmm.
against the window of his office
Yeah.
and he's talking to Gordon about like it's not just like they're going to come after all of us, like we're all going to be in danger or whatever. And right then a dead figure smashes into the window suspended by a rope. And I remember, I
Yeah.
don't know if I had just looked away from the screen for a split second, and when I looked up, that's what happened. But I jolted and I sent food
Mm.
and drink flying everywhere. Because I was like, even in non horror movies, I get jump scared so easily. And the feeling that I had, the tightness in my chest, I'm like, oh, I can't imagine going to a theater and being like, I want this for 2 hours.
I feel like there's definitely studies out there on people who enjoy that type of stuff. Like, there's got to be some type
It's
of.
got to, I mean, it's got to be like the adrenaline junkie, thrill seeker
Hmm.
personality, more likely, who's
Hmm.
willing to go in for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
Which maybe
Yeah.
it could also even go back as far as just mentally about
Mm.
control and just like I don't like it when there's a bunch of unknown variables. Like
That's true. Yeah.
I can know all of the major plot points in a movie before I see it, and I'm still perfectly happy watching the movie. It could be spoiled, and I'll still enjoy it. Like I know
Yeah.
for some people, some people I know literally avoid all trailers. Not some trailers. They don't watch any trailers. They like don't look up at the screen in the theaters
Hmm.
when previews for movies are showing. And I don't know. To me, even more recently, I just don't care because a lot of times there was a good run where I was noticing that a lot of stuff that they were showing in trailers wasn't actually going to be in the movie. It was either cut content or voiceover over sequences that don't line up perfectly. It's like they pick and choose and sort of scramble together a bunch of random moments to make a trailer, but it really doesn't spoil
Hmm.
all that much.
Mm.
But again, it
Yeah.
could just be the fact that that doesn't bother me, and some people really just they want to go in complete surprise. They know nothing about it.
So basically, anti-Marvel,
Anti Marvel. Oh, dude,
where you can
fatigue.
watch the trailer and
Marvel.
leave knowing the plot.
Marvel fatigue is real, man.
Hmm. I
They
recently gave up on it. Or at least gave up on caring as much as I did. I watched the first episode of She-Hulk that came out a couple days ago. I enjoyed it, but I think I've stopped caring as much that I have to see the next thing to know what's coming next because it's nonstop nowadays.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting. I was watching a video today, and I pulled up they pulled up like a picture of everything that was in phase 4 of Marvel.
Hmm.
And I can
Wow.
even I'll pull it up here on the terminal. And I started
Yeah.
laughing to myself because I realized that
Hmm.
I haven't seen, let's see, I've only seen out of everything on that screen Black Widow. That is the only thing I've seen from phase 4. Nothing else.
Well, you want something else? Right now on the terminal, if you could look up, they've announced Phase 5 and 6.
Wait, they released 6 as well?
I do believe so.
Cuz
do
I knew
believe
about
5 is.
5. I mean,
I
5
do.
just looks like a bunch of
I don't think there's
gobbledygook.
much of 6 announced, but like a few tidbits.
Do you feel like the fact that they're releasing that much of their schedule this far ahead of time is indicative of desperation? Like, do you think that them
Um,
trying to say, "Hey, don't worry, guys, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this"? Do you feel like that's coming from a calm,
uh,
cool, calculated position, or more from we have got to get these people back in the theaters, so we need to just
So
crowd the next couple years with content.
for me to enjoy a story, it has to be very clear that there was a clear story purpose from the beginning.
Mm.
So there's a reason I haven't gotten into like Dragon Ball because it's been going since like someone's gonna correct me here, but like 1980. You cannot tell me that a story could go more than 30 years with a consistent story that builds. Like, I'm sure it's a great show, but I need to like a very much start and end to a story.
Right.
So I do appreciate that they know where they're going, so at least it's not like, hey, we'll introduce this character, don't know how we'll bring him in later. So I appreciate that they know where they're going. Um, I think my issue with seeing so much, for one, we started with Thanos. Thanos is a massive villain, and it did take 10 years to get to him, granted, but you have to up the danger every time with a
Mm.
new big bad, you know?
Yeah.
So you start with someone who can snap away half of the existence. That's pretty massive. And so
Yeah.
how do we up that? How do we up that? Okay, we get a guy who can, I don't even know Kang's abilities. Whatever, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Let's say he can destroy a reality. Okay, so what's next? Destroy two realities? Like how do
Yeah.
you upping it? How do you keep those stakes getting higher and higher?
Yeah. I feel like they sort of, in a weird way, they sort of painted themselves into a corner too soon. Like they could have
Mm-hmm.
been building to Thanos for a long time before they actually got to it. And I understand they needed payoff. You almost need like
Mm-hmm.
waypoints, like micro bosses to take down. And I understand that because not every character that they introduced ever felt near as threatening. But I think it's just, I think they sort of screwed themselves in the first place by making Thanos the first big bad, because they
Mm-hmm.
knew that his plot line was going to involve the Infinity Gauntlet and erasing
Mm-hmm.
half of everything. Like, that's pretty intense. But
Mm-hmm.
then at the same time, if you think about it, it's kind of goofy because, well, I guess not. Technically, Thanos posed a greater threat to the galaxy or whatever. I don't know how far
Mm-hmm.
his snap reached because I know that, like, because
Yeah, I
Ultron was
mean,
going to kill everyone. Ultron was going to kill everyone.
well, you and then you run into in Loki, he finds all the Infinity Stones and he says they're just paperweights around here. So
Yeah, that's.
obviously, the snap didn't affect them. So it's like, well, even though he was our big bad, how much did he actually affect? Like, if
And
if everything he was searching for was just a paperweight,
this
what did
kind
he
of
really even affect?
goes very well with what you were saying about Dragon Ball and a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
properties, which is this whole idea of like a power scale and how
Mm-hmm.
you constantly have to keep creating characters who are stronger, better,
Mm.
faster. You know, the whole Daft Punk kit and caboodle, the whole thing. You have to keep introducing things that pose a threat. So it's like at
Mm.
some point your power scale is just broken. That's why Superman
Mm-hmm.
movies don't work super well. Like,
Yeah, he
because
has to be out intellectualized. If
yeah,
that's the
he's
word.
so overpowered. Like so many characters are overpowered. Where it's like, how are we possibly going to create any sort of stakes? The bigger the enemy gets, the better and crazier your allies and your heroes have to get, which just makes
Mm-hmm.
less and less sense why anybody's ever able to get one over on them. Because it's like
Mm-hmm.
all of your heroes at this point are wicked overpowered. Scarlet Witch is crazy overpowered. She's way too strong for
Okay,
anybody.
have you seen the new Thor movie? Because if not, I'll just sideline on this whole
I
thought.
I I have not.
Okay, well then I'll sideline. Never mind. But exactly what you're saying, where it's like new things get introduced, and it's like, all right, what's going on?
Speaking of super crazy intense things, this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a random thing to the side.
Okay.
Before we started the episode, I don't know why I decided to look this up, but I wanted to know what the fastest a human being has ever traveled. So not like over just by foot, just in general, what the fastest is.
Oh,
And the
it's human
answers
space.
are crazy. So
It has to be in space.
this is it's crazier than that. So
Okay.
on the ground, this article, the fastest
Okay, on the
speed
ground.
clocked by a human being was 760 face melting miles per hour. So 1997 in the Nevada desert.
G-forces, someone would feel.
Yeah, so they were
That's
in like
so-
a rocket propelled thing,
Yeah.
right? That was on the ground. In the air, the Air Force's X-15 jet reached
Okay.
Mach 6.72, which is
Okay.
4,520 miles per hour.
Okay. Yeah, that's a. Which I don't remember how.
It says here that
I need to look up
if
here the speed of sound.
it says here that if you blah 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 at that speed you could circumnavigate the globe in just over 100 minutes. So less than 2 hours in this plane, you could go all the way around the world.
Well, then that's well beyond the speed of sound.
Yeah, that is crazy town. That is insanely fast.
How many miles per hour is that? Did you say?
According to this, clocked by human being was blah blah blah. So I don't, you know what? I'm not sure if this means that a person was inside.
Okay.
I assumed so because the article was fastest speed ever achieved by a human being. So I'm assuming that there's someone in there. But it says here it's let's see. It is 4,520 miles per hour.
5 times the speed of sound.
Yeah, because it even says, you know what? I just looked up in 1997, just that ground one, 760 miles per hour broke the sound barrier, which is so much tamer than 4,520 miles per hour. That is incredibly fast.
All right, I know it's not going to be anywhere close, but I'm going to look up the speed of light. I know it's not going to be anywhere close. The speed of light in miles per hour is 670,616,000 miles per hour.
Holy moly. So this is kind of, I was also thinking about this. We discussed some of this, and this kind of blew up all over the internet, obviously, but the James Webb Space Telescope.
Yeah.
And I swear this is related. This kind of goes back to movies as well, which is, you saw Interstellar, right?
Mm-hmm. Long time ago, but yeah.
So basically, this is crazy. I don't remember if Christopher Nolan has a background in physics, but I know that when he was creating Interstellar, he was in dialogue with physicists because he needed to generate that black hole, basically, for the movie Interstellar. And basically, this was crazy. So that movie, Interstellar, changed how scientists viewed what black holes would look like.
Yeah.
Because they took the mathematics and put it into a rendering software, basically. So they took the math, plugged it in, and they had an expert sort of presiding over it. And they hit, like, the generate button to make it start generating an image. And the image was bonkers because it was a black hole, but it had that band of light around it. And they take it to this scientist, and they're like, hey, is there something wrong with our software? Like, can you, like, confirm what we're looking at here? And the scientists are all losing their minds because they're like, oh my gosh, no, that's right. That's what it would look like. So it actually, like, advanced how they viewed black holes, the movie Interstellar. That, like, that's so cool to me. And everything with, like, the James Webb Telescope. Like, I don't remember... I feel like I heard somewhere recently where it was talking about how if we sent a satellite out into space towards some distant star or whatever, in 100 years, we could make something that would catch and pass it or something like that. I don't remember what the quote was, but it was crazy. And everyone gets all up in arms about, like, traveling to different planets. But I gotta be honest, if all I get to do in my lifetime is just look at some of the photos that the James Webb Telescope has sent, I'm perfectly happy with that.
They've released quite a few since those initial 5.
Yeah.
Quite a few. Yeah, one of my favorites is, let me see, if you could look up on the terminal, it's called the Cartwheel Galaxy. Cartwheel Galaxy. You might even see where it's kind of cross-examined with the Hubble images. The Cartwheel Galaxy is pretty cool to look at.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it is, so we have, at least that we have observed, several different types of galaxies. And this one I do believe is called a spiral galaxy. spiral. I'm trying to look up right now. So yeah, we have a spiral, much like our Milky Way. It is a spiral in nature. Spiral, I do believe, is the most common because you have your heaviest object in the middle, your kind of supercluster of whatever is in the middle. That's the heaviest. Kind
Right.
of like if you were to sit on a trampoline, everything would kind of start going in towards the middle. If
Yeah.
you were to roll a ball, yeah. So it's a spiral galaxy. It's just highlighted, very cool, like to look like a little like a wheel.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I could look at photos of this sort of stuff for hours and I'd just get lost in it.
What's cool about this picture and all the other pictures that James Webb has taken, a lot of people see these images, and we're used to seeing pictures of space and thinking these dots are stars, right? Or like, just like we look out in the sky. If I were to step outside tonight and there was no light pollution, I would see stars.
Right.
But every dot you see in this picture is actually its own galaxy. So
Holy
not
moly.
even not even solar system, like not even like we go around the sun and we have our planets. I'm talking galaxy.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
you can ignore now. You see those to the right of the spiral, and down at the bottom towards the left, you see it kind of looks like a snowflake.
Yeah,
Ignore those. Those are actually stars. Those are stars within our own solar system, either solar system or galaxy.
that
We
are
just don't
sort
have the
of in
technology.
front of our view
Yeah,
of. Gotcha.
I don't know how the technology works, why we can't filter them out, but yes, those are within our own either solar system or galaxy, one of the two. So ignore anything that spikes, ignore, because that's something we've
Interesting.
already seen.
Well, these
You'll
pictures
see.
sort of
Yeah.
reminds me of something that I wanted to get your thoughts on because it's been on my mind recently,
Mm-hmm.
which this whole idea of just scrolling and looking at photos from the James Webb telescope for hours on end. Something else that
Mm-hmm.
I could do seemingly forever
Yeah.
is using Wombo Dream, which is that AI art generator,
Mm.
and watching it generate art. And I was thinking about this and I wanted to get your thoughts on this because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of become a whole thing. So between
Mm-hmm.
AI Dungeon, which is a story generator, and now you have a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of even more complex art generators. I don't know what the most recent one is that took the internet by
Oh,
storm. I
there's
don't
so
remember
many.
what it's
Yeah, there's
called.
so many. Mm-hmm.
But people are able to make frighteningly realistic
Mm.
or seemingly unaccidental renderings of things using nothing but an
Yeah.
AI that scans the internet for related images and sort of combines them together by relevance, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the degree to which it nails the prompt is
Mm-hmm.
somewhat frightening. And
Yeah.
it's sort of, I feel like this topic sort of came into the public eye probably 3 years ago when the whole deepfake
Mm-hmm.
thing started happening.
Scary
Where
stuff. Yeah.
when that first sort of exploded onto the scene, people were legitimately
Mm-hmm.
concerned. Like, you can make
Yeah.
someone
Oh yeah.
look
You could
like
end
someone
someone.
else, sound like
Mm-hmm.
someone else, and
Say some terrible thing or yeah.
yeah, you could do so many horrific things using these insanely
Yeah.
powerful programs. And I'm just wondering, at some point in time, it's going to happen. There's going to be like an AI generated movie or an
Mm.
AI generated painting that ends up in a gallery. And maybe the entire gotcha of the message is going to be what you just experienced was entirely generated by an AI. So that way people are sort of duped. And I feel like it's going to take something like that where before people are like, whoa, like I was just taken
It's
for a
very
ride.
funny that you say that because there was a scientist. I couldn't even tell you his or her name or their position, but it was at the height of the James Webb Telescope, and it was really funny because they meant it very innocently. They posted this picture that I'm uploading to the terminal right now.
Right?
Okay, and they said a new planet has been discovered near our solar system that could be inhabitable, and news stations ran with it. They published it instantly. Um, it was even on some people's nightly news that there's this new planet we hadn't even found yet. And the scientists had to come out and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. This was a joke. That's a piece of salami." So
No way.
yeah, and that's the picture that they had posted. It was probably a better quality, more not so rectangular. But yeah, that's just a piece of lunch meat.
I just hold on. I just found the article. French scientist's photo of distant star was actually chorizo.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
they felt really
funny.
bad. They were like, "Hey, this was a joke. Like it wasn't supposed to be."
Etienne Klein's tweet was liked and retweeted thousands of times before he revealed he was trolling, and the photo showed was a slice of sausage, not Proxima Centauri.
Yeah.
That's so, why is he just a mad lad? Is he just a meme lord?
I have no clue.
That's so fun. Like, that's so funny. Like, that's legit. And who says scientists don't have a sense of humor? That's so goofy. And the fact that so many people were probably legitimately, like, excited. Oh, we get to go populate planet Salami. Like, nobody saw it coming. No one saw it coming. Speaking of French scientists, have you seen the clip of the crazy dude who jumped off of the Eiffel Tower with his wingsuit?
No, I've not.
Okay, hold on. Let me find this. This was like forever ago. This was like someone trying to test out their own flight suit, which obviously is sad.
Yeah,
it's sad, but I gotta tell you, the music playing behind it, and as he just, it's so unceremonious. Like out of no, just
looks like an oversized coat.
My man, why did you try it from that high? It's
that
just.
Reminds me. Have you seen people in wingsuits still like jump out of some sort of low-flying plane or helicopter with wingsuits, and then like the helicopter or plane will get lower and they'll land back inside the same plane?
No way.
Yeah, I have no article ready to show you or anything. I've seen the videos.
Did you say helicopters?
I'm going to assume not.
That's a that one's that one seems like a bad idea. That one seems like it could go very, very, very wrong.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at what I put on the terminal, go to like the 1:30 mark. The rest is kind of just explaining the mathematics of how this works. Also, I don't know the name of this particular type of plane, so it's not a helicopter. It's like has the propeller in the front. I don't know what they're called. Like a stunt plane type of.
Yeah, it's like it's a little bit like a Cessna, like a prop.
Yeah, so if you go to like the 1:30 mark, basically the last minute and a half is just going to explain the math of how this all works, like how small of a window he has to make this work. And if you
Holy crap!
So he's falling with style right now.
Of course, this is Red Bull.
Yeah.
So these two guys in wingsuits are essentially the pilot of the plane is in like a slow descent, and the two guys just sort of sidle up next to the window and sort of just fall into the plane from the side.
Yeah, just fall in from the side. Yeah.
Which could go so freaking wrong.
So wrong so fast. Yes.
If you get out ahead of the plane, you're gonna get killed by the propeller. If you go too low, you're just gonna miss the plane and go underneath it. Like so many things could go wrong.
But yeah, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew that was a real thing.
And with that smooth transition, it's now time for everyone's favorite segment of the show, Fake or Not Fake Off-Brand Soda Names. Ba-da-bum, ba-ba-bum-bum.
Everyone's favorite segment.
Everyone's favorite segment, Fake or Not Fake Soda. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off a brand name, and you're going to tell me whether or not it's one that I made up or one from an actual list I have pulled up of off-brand soda names. All right?
Okay.
So your job is to just say real or fake. Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Mountain Lightning.
Real. Very real. It's the Off-Dew Mountain Dew.
You are correct. I wanted to start off with an easy one. Mountain Lightning is just like so lazy because they just looked at the Mountain Dew logo and were just like, there's mountains in it and there's sort of electrical stuff coming off it. Call it Mountain Lightning. All right.
I feel like it's more inspiring than just the dew of the mountain.
I suppose.
Like if I'm trying to get an MLG gamer clip, I feel like I'd rather have lightning in me than dew.
That's also true.
Anyways, go ahead.
It would be funny though if Mountain Dew all of a sudden, just apropos of nothing, changes the order of the title and just calls it Dew from the Mountain instead of Mountain Dew. That would be a little bit more poetic. All right, here's another one. True or false? Citrus sling.
False. I've never seen that.
This is true.
It's true. Okay.
Citrus sling, like slingshot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Sling some citrus.
It actually you know what it looks like?
Old-timey slur. Like you citrus slinger.
you look like the kind of man who'd throw fruit at a man and knock his hat off. You citrus slinger. All right, next. Captain Cooler.
I want it to be real.
This is false. I made this one up. I just had to come up with the most bland possible name possible.
Cooler. I mean, that's pretty cool, yeah.
Captain Cooler, yeah.
Captain Cool? Like, somebody was named Captain Cool, and he's like, nah, I'm Captain Cooler.
At some point in time, there has to be someone whose last name was Cool and actually achieved the rank of captain. And now I actually have to look this up. Because I want this person to be real.
Well, I had my dad had a good friend in the military. His last name, I always thought this was so funny. His name was Hot. His last name was Hot, like H-O-T.
Hot?
And I'm like, can you imagine being like Sergeant Hot? I'm General Hot.
General Hot.
Like, that's pretty cool.
All right, here's the last one. True or false? Lemon Lime Rhapsody.
See, every time I hear Rhapsody, my mind either goes to Queen or a city full of people rapping.
Rap City?
Rap City.
Welcome to Rap City. I'm Captain Cool.
Lemon Lime Rhapsody. So it's like city full of people who love like Run DMC and Sprite.
Yeah, it's just a Sprite commercial.
You know what? I'm gonna say it's real.
This is fake. I made this up.
Come on. All right. Well, I failed everyone's favorite portion.
Well, no, you got some of them. You got some of them right. Some of the other ones on the list were just altogether boring. Lots of them are just like they're not even citrus drop. Like what?
Yeah.
What? Dr. Bold was on here too, which is real. I feel like I don't know. I was talking with one of my buddies. One of our inside jokes is we'll take like Super Smash Brothers, for example, and you just change each word to a synonym, but it's still the same title. So it's like come up with an alternate name for Super Smash Brothers, and the results are always hilarious because it's like Ultra Bash Bros or no, you can't use bros. Ultra Bash Fraternity. Like you could just keep changing it each time.
Just Ultra Bash them.
Yeah, you could just change every word from Super Smash Brothers into something else. So it would be like Mega Tussle Mega Tussle Kinship. Like you just change it into something so much dumber.
All right, so I'm going to bring up something. I'm going to put it. I will type it out on the terminal. We were talking about movies earlier, and I was thinking, what is the biggest boss a movie could face? And I thought, the Bechdel test. Have you heard of the Bechdel test?
I have heard of the Bechdel test. All
right. So for our friends out there who have not heard it, there are kind of varying rules, but the general rule is 3 rules. Two women have a conversation. Conversation lasts at least the whole scene. Conversation has nothing to do about men. And you'd think that's not very crazy until you realize I can't name a single movie that would pass that.
Yeah. And it could just be how scripts are. I think it probably has a lot to do with how strict the third rule is, which is the conversation has nothing to do about men. Like, it depends on how strict that rule is, whether you can come within a secondary or tertiary. Okay, so I'll give an example. If there's a war going on, and it's two women talking about the war, they never actually name drop any dudes. They don't talk about their significant others. They don't talk about anything, but they just bring up the war. Like, how strict do you have to be?
I would say that's fine. I think it would break it if they were talking about their husbands who had gone.
Well, yeah, that definitely would. But, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times I'm not even sure who, because obviously, I'm curious, when was it like developed? Because
The Bechdel test?
yeah, because I'm sure it's something that movies should always strive for, but kind of like you said, whether or not people can actually do it successfully might not be super easy, just depending on what sort of script you're working with.
Oh, okay. We have a list of movies that has passed the Bechdel test, and let me tell you, this list is about 10 movies long.
What?
I'm sure there's more, but this is going back. This is going back to 2001. I'm sure there's some that they missed. Ones that stand out to me. Kill Out Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo passed the Bechdel test, so
so everyone else needs to pull their freaking game up.
It's come full circle. Dragon Ball Z Super.
Hey,
Super
good for them.
You know what? I might give it a try. If they can do it. Who knew that their power levels were over 9,000? Passing the Bechdel test. All right. Thing two. So our animal friends passed the Bechdel test. And Batman: The Long Halloween Part 2. Part 1 didn't make it. They couldn't do it, but Part 2 made it. So.
That was the biggest audience complaint after Part 1, actually.
Oh wait, is this a whole list on the left? Oh no, there's a whole list on the left. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Let's give it up for Chip and Dale. They passed the Bechdel test.
Let's go.
I thought the movie was about two brothers, so I'm a little confused there, but let's see here. Anything? Top Gun Maverick. You know, that really surprises me, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting, though, that you say this, because I feel like whether or not a movie passes the Bechdel test can tell you a lot about how well the script is written, because another caveat of the rule, based on what I'm seeing on Wikipedia, is that the two women be named as like one of the other potential rules. So it can't just be two random characters. It actually has to be characters that have names. So I feel like a movie that cannot or doesn't pass the Bechdel test probably isn't great at establishing character to begin with.
Let me tear down that whole argument, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre also passes it.
Well, I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Maybe it has really good characters in it. I don't know. What I'm saying is, if a movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test, especially in modern day, it could tell you a lot about how well the script is written.
Wow. So yeah, Bechdel test. Maybe that will be the final villain for our Avengers.
Maybe.
Passing the Bechdel test. There's a movie, I'm sure it's a wonderful movie, called, I looked up other movies that passed, called passing the Bechdel test. It's called Finding Ohana. It's like, probably like a Hawaiian.
Okay.
I read it as Finding Obama.
Finding Obama's last name, the movie.
In there, we have two female characters that passed. All right. So yeah, that.
The Bechdel test is the final Avengers boss.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're gonna this super meta boss, because that's what you were talking about earlier. The only way you can raise the stakes any higher, apart from the universe, is a judgment of the actual films. So the Bechdel test creature or deity comes down and actually lists all the Marvel movies, and if any of them don't pass, everyone dies. They're judged on a scale.
I would watch that.
Bigger than Galactus. Galactus shows up, the Bechdel test creature crushes him under their boot. And it just brings up giant golden scales and puts all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and weighs it.
Yeah, it's Avengers 5, the patriarchy. You know, it's like...
So question, I wanted to circle back around to this.
Yes.
With the whole bird thing, do you like tie little messages to their feet or something? Like, what do you do for Like, do you just feed them, or what do you do?
You know, I feel like I have a great perspective, being the only one who can see the outside world in this building. Um, so, uh, believe it or not, people are kind of just like walking around out there. Um, so I'm not sure why we're still here. Um, and so I'll try to like tell the birds to take a message to the people down there, and they never do. And then I'll try to make like paper birds. I'm trying to stay like within my theme, you know. I don't want to just like
Right,
get a
right, right.
football. Yeah.
Can't be throwing
Paper birds.
like paper dogs off the top of the roof.
No, no, they didn't. They didn't lean over and say dogs.
Right, right.
So I've tried, but nothing crazy. Yeah, I kind of feed them my lunch, which I've had to stretch out over the past, you know, however long we've been here, to keep them coming back, and I just kind of do what I can, you know.
So this is kind of interesting. I was looking up carrier pigeons because I wanted to know where the heck that started. Because even as a kid, I thought the idea was a little far-fetched. Like, the degree of accuracy or reliability was probably very low, right? So apparently there was a freaking bird named Cher-Ami, brave carrier pigeon who carried the news of stranded American soldiers who were in danger. She delivered this message despite being mortally wounded. Cher-Ami reached the base with information with a bullet-sized hole in her chest and her leg hanging on by only a few tendons. She saved the lives of many soldiers and became a hero. But I was trying to figure out, like, who the heck discovered this? Where they're like, there's a bird. Oh, it just flew away. And then, like, 3 days later, they're like, oh, look, a bird. It's the same one. Let's use birds to carry message. Like, how do you get from there's a bird to quick grab it and strap paper to its foot? Like, how do you get to that? It's just so curious because they were used in World War I, and apparently Germany would even hire marksmen to like shoot them down, basically to intercept whatever messages that the birds were carrying. But apparently they were also sent with tanks and boats, just in case. And then they just released the pigeon.
I thought you meant... I definitely heard you wrong. I thought you meant the pigeons were sent with tanks.
No. And they didn't make little bird tanks. That would have been awesome if you just had a bunch of tanks and then just a smaller tank sort of following behind.
Yeah.
No, they used to have just like an emergency pigeon with them in case they couldn't go anywhere and they needed to send help.
I'm thinking, it brings to mind a man that could have very much used a messenger pigeon. I don't know if you've seen this story. There was a Nigerian cook who was trapped. Okay, so the ship itself had sunken, and he was in a container part of the ship, but it had sunk in just the right way that it made an air pocket.
Oh gosh.
And he'd been stuck in this tiny little air pocket. Let me see. There's a cross section somewhere that shows how tiny this air pocket is. But this man's stuck underwater in a tiny little air pocket for 3 days.
Holy, I didn't know it was 3 days.
But you probably heard me giggle earlier. This random news article did not do my man well. Go ahead and scroll down to where you see like it's the random news articles that's like interrupts it. It's like a little commercial for it in the article.
Oh no.
The next line. I put it in the terminal, what they said about my man.
The chubby cook survived on only 1 bottle of Coke? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
This man survives for 3 days, testifies about how he heard his friends getting eaten by fish, is getting just eroded away by salt water, and all of that gets surmised down to the chubby cook.
That is so messed up. The chubby cook survived on only 1 bottle of Coke. Why did you add that detail? That's so strange. It's not even like it's not relevant to anything at all.
No, it's not.
That's That's so. What's this guy's name? Hold on.
See, that's what's awful. I don't know his name, but I know he's a chubby cook.
Odjegba Okene.
Okay.
I think it's
Well, I mean,
underneath the first picture.
he's a tough man, but man, he got
Dude, can
washed
you
down to
imagine
a chubby.
A24 is gonna make a movie about this guy? Like,
Mm.
can you imagine the
I
first
really want it to
act?
be called the chubby cook.
The chubby cook. The first act is literally just
Like Chevy Chase.
the first act is literally just him doing his job, and then the boat sinks, flips over, and he's submerged under there. Like, can you imagine? Like, that is a horror. Like, that is a nightmare to me, because that's such a slow way to go. Because, like,
Awful.
I wonder how they found out that the boat sank and how they knew
Sure
where
they
to
had
look.
Well, I mean, 3 days. I'm sure they knew the first day the boat had sank because communication stopped, and then I'm sure they just checked along the route.
Because I know
It
that.
actually says in this article that um, the first time a diver searched the ship, this guy heard him, like saw the air bubbles coming up, but they didn't find him. So then they came back later. So I think they found the ship pretty quickly. It was just finding any people alive in it.
Okay, so this is crazy. 2 flashlights that he had found gave up after less than 1 day. So now he's in the dark.
Pitch black, just sitting there in the water.
How did he find the coke? This man is incredible.
They need Coke needs to sponsor this man. Next time there's a commercial, I better see about how, like, it'll get you through a shipwreck.
Okay, so the Jascon 4, which I'm assuming is the boat, was resting on the seabed upside down at a depth of about 100 feet.
Okay, so that's actually not terrible.
It's not horrible, but you're stuck in a coffin filling with water.
Ain't no way you're getting back up.
Right, you're not getting, it's so pressurized, and you have a
Yeah.
limited oxygen supply, and you're in the
even
dark.
Let's say if the pressure, let's say our water pressure isn't a thing, holding your breath long enough to find a way out of the pocket you're in, because you still have to go through the rest of the ship. You're just in one pocket of it. Get out of that pocket, find the correct route, and then go up 100 feet. Your lungs would have to be insane.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, he was the only survivor out of 12.
Wow.
Just complete luck that he happened to be in a room that would air pocket.
Okene said he made a pact with God when he was at the bottom of the ocean. And then as a quote, "When I was under the water, I told God, if you rescue me, I will never go back to the sea again, never." That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
the ocean's terrifying to me.
Oh my, yes, absolutely.
Terrifying.
The ocean is horrific. This guy needs his own movie. I would absolutely watch that. Like the sheer will to survive.
It brings to mind a fear. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm going to horribly mispronounce it. I'm gonna try my best. Thalassophobia. I very much have had this since I was a child. It is the fear of things larger than yourself in the ocean. So like you being in the ocean with something larger than you.
Okay, I think that's a perfectly reasonable fear, but do you feel like it stems from anything in specific for you or just in general?
I don't know. I think it started with sharks for me.
Sharks.
I remember I was on the swim team most of my childhood, and we had a weird pool setup. So you had your laps, with your area designed for laps on the left, and then on the back right, there was what we called the deep end, and it was just a little square, like a little rectangle of the pool that went down to 10 feet, and it was where we would practice whatever. I don't know, whatever, name it. But every time I was doing my laps, because the water got so deep, it naturally got darker. I would always imagine sharks just chilling out at the bottom, and they'd always like come out and get me, like whatever.
Oh dang!
So I think it always started there. I'm trying to find pictures that like really, I mean, like I can't do, like you mentioned earlier horror movies. There's one type of horror I won't do, is deep water. I don't care
Mm.
if it's like a B movie, like awful, not like Barry Benson, but like a B-rated movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't do it because I just like imagine myself there, and I'm like, well, I'm helpless here. I can't outrun it.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
can't do it.
I think,
Something like, yeah,
I mean, I think that
something,
just sort of goes in with the idea of you are in a hostile environment that human beings are not made for. So even if you're in something man-made, the fact that that could fail any minute, and then you're just
yeah,
exposed to someone else's backyard, to put it
yeah,
frankly,
scary.
you're like a deer in the city. It's like this area was not made for you, and there are so many things that could go wrong.
Yeah,
Well, that I
and
think is a perfect place to end off. Is
yeah,
Thalassophobia.
yeah, whatever you pronounce that.
And again, maybe I'll try and find a parachute of some sort, and
Yeah,
maybe if I
not a
can find
wingsuit.
my way
Don't
back
make a
here.
wingsuit.
So good
Don't
luck
make
with.
a wingsuit.
Yeah, I won't make a wingsuit. Inspired by
Yeah,
birds. Inspired by your birds. Good luck with your birds, I guess.
yeah,
You
I
know,
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
good luck with that. Thank you all so much for listening, and see ya.
But yeah.